going to do now, you can see I got the tang bolt drilled all the way through, tapped, and the screw, the bolt installed. And now what we're going to do, we're going to place and inlet the trigger guard. I've got my guidelines and my center line marked on both ends. And I think I'm going to put it right about here. It's got enough room to clear the set trigger as well as the front trigger here. And I'm going to put it right there. When I inlet it, it might hit the front of this trigger plate, so I got to be careful there. But I don't think that's going to be a major problem. So I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to go ahead and start inletting this. First, I'm going to bevel the edges here slightly, so that when it sits in the mortise, it'll kind of wedge itself in there, and it'll make for a tighter, cleaner fit. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to inlet and install this trigger guard. Okay, so what I did, I went ahead and cut down the front part of this trigger plate, so that when I inlet this trigger guard, it won't impede the inletting of it. I'll be able to get this thing down deeper into the stock without it running into the front part of that trigger plate. Okay, so I just wanted to give you that. If there is a space, between the trigger guard and the mortise, I'll just fill it in with something. But it looks like I had to grind down the front portion of that trigger plate so that I can make room for my trigger guard. Because I'd have to come up this close to it so I can have enough room to pull back on that rear set trigger. So that's where it's going to go, and we'll get the camera set up and get this thing inletted. Okay, I've got the edges beveled down on the trigger guard, and I have my guidelines drawn out on the stock here. So what I'm going to do is take the chisel and start whacking out some of this wood, and hopefully we'll get this thing inletted, and hopefully there won't be any chip outs or anything like that. Hopefully I'm going to get this thing set in here fairly neatly. Okay, you can see I got the preliminary mortise pretty close to the depth that I want it to be. And I put some inletting black on the back of the trigger guard here, and I just fit it into the mortise here. And as we did with the lock and the butt plate, wherever there's black means that there's wood that still needs to be removed. It's pretty deep enough, but I don't want to go any deeper because I don't want to recess the trigger guard into the stock. So I'm going to take a closer look at this black where it's transferred and make sure that I actually do want to take off any more wood. Probably here in the corner here I need to take some off, but down here I'm pretty good. And I'll probably take out that spot right there. Anyway, I'll put the camera down and turn it on when I get done, and you can see how it looks. Okay, so we're done with the trigger guard. Drilled the holes, countersunk the holes. You can see it's fairly close to the level of the stock. And it's done. It's pretty sturdy on there, and we've got enough room for the back trigger to clear the back trigger so it could be pulled all the way, and it's done. I ended up, like I said, cutting off or grinding down the trigger plate a little bit to make room for the trigger guard, and that little area there came out pretty good. But all in all, it's all done. I gotta just polish it up, and when I get through, I'm gonna probably brown this with the rest of the stuff, and then we'll be done with it. All right. So the next thing I think we're gonna be doing is the ramrod tubes, and then we're gonna do the sights. And then after that, we're gonna work and finish up the stock. Trim it down to a little bit thinner dimensions. And I just realized as well I have to finish carving out this front relief of the side panel here on both sides. It's not as pronounced as this side. It's kind of faded in. But we'll see how that goes. Chances are I'll have to do that. Do that on this side too. You can't see it because the clamp's in the way. But anyway, I think that's about it. We have a pretty much technically a functional firearm. Anyway, this concludes this episode of the Longrifle Build-Along. This is Cashdug Bowcraft. Thanks for watching.